Before I talk about like what I think Shedeur actually is, what is like the stew? Because it's clearly a lot of ingredients. Like if we just started like some of it is fame, and some of it is just his father, and some of it is confirmation bias. Like what is the stew that has made the media go insane on this? Because I think that this is people compare it to Tebow, and I don't think it's wildly unfair. Like I feel like I am covering a story differently than 95% of our peers. And
Yeah.
it's very odd to me. Like I want to talk about this kid like he was a 5th round pick that the media got wrong before the draft and see if it works out. But no one else seems to be able to keep him within that prism.
So it's interesting you say that because I made an argument a couple of weeks ago that he was not an underdog. And I kind of started rethinking that to a degree. And he's not an underdog in the sense that his father is Deion Sanders and has been able to put his thumb on the scale in some ways to get him
Yeah.
some looks they may not have gotten otherwise. But if you do view him in the context of like he's a Cam Ward is the ultimate, right? 0-star recruit to number 1 overall pick with the places he went, right? But
Yep.
he's much more physically talented than Shedeur is, right? That's where it becomes interesting in trying to figure out exactly like who fits in as underdog. But the truth is, as you point out, he was a somewhat lightly recruited high school player who started at a historically black college and then moved up to a higher level where I was on record as saying he looked like a good FCS quarterback, but not necessarily a good FBS quarterback, and became a second team All American. To get to where he has gotten is actually a pretty big win, right? But that ain't enough for people now, is it? Right? And so I think the things you listed in the stew are certainly there, but I think that this is as much as anything else a reflection of the ways that we communicate with each other and the way that social media has poisoned our brains collectively, right? And so everything becomes a debate point because that's what gets engagement, right? Like
Yep.
everything becomes something that has to be, rarely is it there to be discussed. It is very often there to be argued. So let me tell you this one. I think I see a screen grab of this. I didn't listen to it. So if this isn't exactly what it is, that's fine. You let me know. But I'm just going to read to you this synopsis of something off a nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson. And it says, Shannon Sharp tells Chad Ochocinco that he believes the Cleveland Browns are trying to set Shedeur Sanders up by letting him start the remaining games of the season, with their next games being the Bears, the Bills, Steelers, and Bengals.
Set him up to fail or to succeed.
But they also told me that it was a setup, and I don't like saying they about just this random swap of people, but when he wasn't playing, it was a setup, right? But the reason I say that, I think it's important to talk about that in the context of the stew, because also this list of games that you talk about, the Bengals, they got a Make-A-Wish Foundation on defense, and that's the end of the season. The Steelers, I mean, I don't know, right? The Bills don't have some great defense. And the Bears, you know better than I do about what exactly. I mean, they're a good team, but I don't know.
They get a lot. They lead the league in takeaways, but they've been in multiple shootouts this year.
But
They're not a great defense. Yeah.
But this is the kind of thing I hear people say things that are so far
Exactly.
in either direction when it comes down to him. Honestly, I don't see, and maybe these people are out here, but I don't see that many people who are that hard on Shedeur in public anymore. I see far more people who think that anything that isn't going exactly his direction is some kind of setup to hold him down. And I think that is the broth of the stew is the internet.
Listen, and I think that that's the answer probably for a lot of things nowadays. Like that, we just all have some degree of toxic internet brain,
Right.
and it's polluted everything. And listen, I will like my true thought is that a 5th round pick on the Cleveland Browns should not be a topic, but I don't fight it for when it gets in the show because I know it does numbers. Right. So, like, I guess I'm contributing, even when I then get on the air and try to do the most reasonable Shedeur analysis ever, almost like intentionally trying not to go viral to make some sort of defiant point. I could be more defiant and not allow it in the show. But it's just odd to me that, like, he had a statistically very good game against Tennessee with some absolutely impressive throws. I thought the The touchdown to Njoku was very good. I thought the back pylon throw to Fannin was
Yeah.
good. I thought he felt the pressure on some and dumped the ball off nicely. I thought his stats were a little inflated with Yak. Judkins had a huge run after the catch. Judy's touchdown was a huge run after the catch. So I don't think it didn't look to me like a 340 passing yard game, but that's what the stats ultimately showed. But I've never seen people so happy to crown a guy a franchise quarterback for losing to the Tennessee Titans.
The worst team in the league. It's
Like,
because
what's going on?
but it's because people want it, right? Like I think this is maybe the part that I think is the most interesting is how much about Sanders in the discussion has been about whether or not he's getting a chance. And I'm like, when did we start doing that?
Yeah.
Like that's not the world that we're in. That's not no. That's not it's not that. But I think it lands in the middle in the sense that, for example, Stefanski says that Shedeur is going to start for the rest of the season. There's no reason why he should not.
I
He has,
agree.
in what I've seen, he's been better than anything that Dylan Gabriel had produced. I don't watch closely enough to tell you exactly why he is. I've watched more closely with Shedeur than I did with Dylan Gabriel, I guess is the point that I'm saying. So I'm not in a great position to be comparative. But yeah, he should be playing for the rest of the year, and the Browns will be fools if they don't take a quarterback as early as they possibly can next year. Like, come on, man. Like, this is, and that leads us then to an open world and setup where the Eagles can trade a 4th or 5th round pick and bring Shedeur Sanders in and give Jalen Hurts somebody behind him to make sure that, he doing what he's supposed to do in the offseason. And then go, boy, like you think they're having a good time in Philly now.
I don't think like that. And listen, I think that's the thing. Like we have seen NFL teams sour on quarterbacks. They don't want headlines for backups, which is reasonable. It's a reasonable thing to not want.
Yeah.
Your backup quarterback to be a distraction. I think it shortened Cam Newton's career. Not to have a whole Cam Newton conversation. It was a factor with Tim Tebow. Like we have seen it before. So Shedeur is going to have to be exceptional. And if he goes into next year with a top 5 pick, a $230 million quarterback, say whatever you want to say about Deshaun Watson, but the owner was at his wedding this year. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, wow, the owner wants Shedeur. I think the owner wants Deshaun Watson to work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Although God knows how cooked he's coming off an Achilles, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're right. But no, you're absolutely right. That best case scenario for Jimmy Haslam is the renaissance of Deshaun
Yes.
Watson.
Of course, that is what he is.
I had completely forgotten about this.
Dude, he is. It's the worst trade in NFL history by far. And he guaranteed his contract, and all of his billionaire friends hated him for it. Of course, he wants to get the last laugh on that. But if next year you have a new coach, Shedeur Sanders, a top 5 pick, and Deshaun Watson, I mean, it's going to be on our show every day. It's going to be every day.
When you put it like that, right? Like that, this is one of those when you put it like that scenario.
Yeah, man. But who's trade? Like Shedeur would have to be. I can't even fathom what he would have to do the rest of the way for them to not use a top 5 pick on a quarterback.
No.
It's impossible.
For me, there's nothing, right?
I agree.
Now, that being said, what quarterback have you seen?
None.
Right? Like I watched Francisco Mendoza the other night.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. If that's what we're doing, that's fine.
That's the guy that people say, yeah. Listen, if the answer is this happens to be the year, the 2013 draft, like the Eric Fisher,
the EJ Manuel.
Yeah, Deion Jordan, Lane Johnson, like that draft. Like, if this happens to be that year, then okay. Like, don't draft a guy you hate with a top 5 pick. I'm not like that's not a way to build a winning franchise. But assuming someone is there that your football Illuminati agrees in, to let a 5th round pick have 6 games to change your mind and make you go away from that would be completely insane.
Well, you just have to really believe it, right? Like you have to be
really believe
in the position that, for example, Kyle Shanahan was in with Brock Purdy. where it reached a point where he was like, no, no, no. We really believe this. And for what it's worth, Brock Purdy, starting NFL quarterback, right? And I
Yeah.
think that the point that you make if you're on Team Shedeur about this is if Brock Purdy, who had a fairly similar collegiate profile to Shedeur Sanders, he was a very good college quarterback, although he was all over the place, he was still good. But if you think that he can become a starting quarterback, because we're not even talking about like I think we say franchise too much. Let's not even ask if he can become a franchise quarterback. If he can become a starting quarterback, an example of a starting quarterback would be Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, other guys of that caliber. If you think you got a starting quarterback, you buy in on that, right? But
Yes, but I mean, but okay, those teams would say that those guys are franchise quarterbacks,
I
right?
know they would say it. I know
When,
they
when
would
you when you
say
give
it.
them $250 million, aren't they
Right.
franchise quarterbacks?
Right. I think, but the problem is that's what they all get, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I say we use the term so broadly, but those guys are really Tua Tagovailoa is a starting quarterback. Your guy Herbert, until proven otherwise, is a very good starting quarterback,
Very
right?
good. Very good.
Um, I look at this with the Browns, and if they get in the draft next year, if you don't see a first round pick as a quarterback, do you wind up doing, say, like the Steelers did with Kenny Pickett, where it's like, damn, we got to do this eventually. All right, man, let's go. All right, yeah. Go ahead and get one of those, right? Like you don't want to wind up in a situation where you're like shopping at the airport. Like, damn, I don't have a blank. I don't have headphones. I'm
Yeah.
about to get on this plane. Why do these headphones cost $500? And they ain't even got they ain't even got noise cancel.
Right. You know, it's a tricky one. I think the Kenny Pickett situation is not. That's just not ever the answer.
Right.
It's never a good idea to reach because a first round pick is a tremendous asset if you hit on them at any position. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? If you draft a great right tackle with a first round pick, it's a huge cost saving things compared to what you would have to pay a great right tackle in free agency. So like hitting on first round picks is a supremely important way in building a good football team. So I would not advocate for the reach for the Kenny Pickett level prospect situation ever. But man, you talk about sports radio. Sports radio in Cleveland in a Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson quarterback battle, man. I don't know. Like because there's a lot of Browns fans who seem to believe.
I
Like,
have not gone into the Cleveland radio. And I love doing that from time to time. It's
it's
been a
fun.
while
It's
since
fun.
I've done. Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
My favorite was the morning after LeBron won the second championship. Like I was calling shows and laughing. Like I was on with I was on with Rizzo. I think it was a Rizzo Goldhammer and those cats. Oh no. I'm always here to like, oh, I wonder what's going on up there in Cleveland right now.
Yeah, Ken Carmen and Anthony Lima. That's the show
Yes.
that I rock with. They do a nice show in the mornings. Carmen could go insane sometimes. Lima tries to rein him in, but yeah, it's fun. Like it's fun to those are the markets, like cold weather markets with passionate, beaten down sports fans.
Yes.
Where you're you know what I mean? Detroit, Cleveland,
But that's why
Philly.
that's why Philly is so interesting because they're only beaten down because they fight so much.
Yeah, right.
Like
Well,
it's actually
Philly,
been pretty good for you guys.
yeah, so I always say that Philly, New York, Boston is like the big three where like their fans think they're smarter than the GM. Like being mean is in their DNA. And
Yes.
then Chicago is like the capital of everybody else. Like we can be mean, but we're still like we like to think of ourselves as Midwestern nice. But
Yes.
but then like the places to do sports radio are cold weather city because local sports radio in LA, Houston. It's just
Yeah.
it's too nice out.
Yeah. Though I do contend, Chicago, New York fans, and we're going to break with this idea, are far more beaten down than they get credit for being. Like the
Thank you.
Bears
Thank you.
are a far more miserable sports franchise. They have an incredible history and nothing after the history except the 85 Bears, right? I'm at Madison Square Garden where they have an original six hockey team and I believe an original NBA franchise. Like when leagues had 6 and 8 teams and have a combined 5 championships. 5 championships. Um, I've lived here. This is the ninth football season I've been here. Between two franchises, I've seen one good team this entire time. No, 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 no. They don't get nearly enough credit around here for how much losing they watch. Even the Yankees, who have now not won a championship in 16 years, and that 16 years is the only one they've won in the last 25. When I was a little kid, the Yankees, by the way, were terrible. Like 80s before the run starts, terrible. They've taken a lot of L's up here. I don't feel like Philadelphia. I feel like reasonably competitive, except the Sixers have done things to them. But
Yeah, right. No, that's true. And the my least favorite person on the internet is that Boston sports kid that holds up the sign at every championship, where he's
yeah,
like, "I've been to 9 championships and I'm 7 years old," and then he
yeah.
keeps updating it. I'm like, I
Yeah, so
shut the hell up.
they used to get beat down, and the one team, the Celtics was doing all the winning, but that schism, they got a weird relationship. Like the Bruins guaranteed to sell out. The Celtics better be good, right?
So,
Like
yeah,
that's kind of how Boston works.